I adopted a 7-year-old mixed terrier from the Manhattan ACC on September 30th, 2015, legal name Judy. Judy was in isolation for a severe case of kennel cough. She looked dirty and disheveled and was underweight. She had an underbite from a broken jaw. After several days of having her at my home, I renamed her Joy because that's what she brought to everyone that she met. She had a sweet disposition despite being abandoned by her past owner and her rough life until now. She was the most loving dog that anyone had ever met. When I entrusted the dog to ACC for her spay on January 11th, a full 90 plus days to ensure that she was symptom-free from her kennel cough, I was left heartbroken and in a tailspin. I had sat with the dog in my bathroom, full of steam, nursing her back to health, giving her antibiotics. I had formed such a bond with her, and the way that she was treated at this facility was as if she was disposable. This incident was handled with extreme dysfunction and incompetence, and the pain that has resulted is devastating. I dropped Joy off at 8 a.m. as she was the first scheduled spay appointment that I had booked online as instructed. From the moment I stepped in, there was little to no communication. I was told from the front desk clerk that I could not wait for her. I instead had to come back at 6 o'clock. I spelled out my phone number digit by digit, and she wrote it down. I said if there were any problems, please call me, and I was told of course I would be called. At 5 o'clock, I was leaving my apartment, and I received a phone call from the phone clerk saying that the dog was coming out of anesthesia slowly, and they needed to keep her overnight to monitor her. I felt panic start to rise, and I said, I'll come pick her up. I'll take her to another facility if she needs more attention. I was assured, no, this is a fully functioning hospital. We have 24-hour on-call vets and staff that will take good care of her overnight. They just want to make sure that she comes out of the anesthesia. This sometimes happens, that they come out of anesthesia slowly. They're a little groggy. I was nervous, but I agreed to it. Had I been given the full story or been told the seriousness of her condition, I would have done differently. I slept that night. I woke up the next morning. I tried calling ACC, but because of their automated system, I couldn't reach a live person. I emailed and said, I'm coming to pick up my dog from surgery. Please have someone call me and let me know her status. I received a phone call at 9 a.m. from the adoption department saying that she had some bad news, that at 3 a.m. the dog had taken a turn for the worse, and she had collapsed, and they had made the decision to euthanize her without my permission. And I started hysterical crying. I said, how can this be? This was a routine surgery. I should have received a phone call. You have no right to euthanize my child without my permission. I was met with defensiveness and was told that someone from the medical department would be calling me back shortly. I didn't hear from anyone. By 3 p.m., I had sent several emails saying I needed to speak with someone in the medical department to know what had happened to my dog, and I want to pick up her remains. Finally, I received a call from Lisa Levin, the head of the medical department, saying that they were going to do an autopsy to see what had happened, and they found that she had hemorrhaged due to a botched surgery. She had bled out and lost 30% of her blood because the ligature had slipped off due to being improperly tied. And had any staff member properly monitored her, they would have seen signs that she was failing, meaning lowered body temperature. She was in pain. This was a lengthy process, and the ethical procedure for dealing with this would have been to reopen the dog and give a blood transfusion. I've consulted with several other vets, and this would be how any other hospital would handle it. Granted, that's an expensive way to deal with the situation that probably ACC didn't want to undertake, but that would have been the right thing to do. If they didn't want to do that, then they could have called me and I would have taken her elsewhere. unfortunately, I wasn't given that choice, even though I had every right as her owner to make that decision rather than them euthanizing her. So, due to lack of communication, bureaucracy, covering their tush, they just did what they wanted to do. I didn't get out of bed for a week after losing her. It was devastating. Eventually, I got the dog's remains, and I've found a way to move on, but I can't believe that animals are treated so disposably, and it's a spay factory line up there, and I'm heartbroken, and I hope this never happens to any other owner again.
This is Heidi. She was brought into the Nyc Acc as a stray on December 20th, 2015. On 12/22, her initial medical rating was 1, normal. She had matted fur but appeared healthy. The next day, she had a behavioral evaluation and was labeled New Hope Rescue Only because she was tense and tried to bite during the paw squeeze. On 12/26, she had another medical exam and was rated 2, minor condition, non-contagious, skin irritated due to matting, but excellent prognosis. I agreed to foster her through Wings of Freedom Animal Rescue, and arrangements were made for her to be spayed on December 31st and transported to me on January 2nd, but we got a call saying she had developed kennel cough and needed to leave right away and could not be spayed. She was dropped off at my house December 30th with a runny nose and cough. We were given doxycycline, and I expected her to start feeling better within a few days. Instead, she worsened. We brought her to Berlin Animal Hospital on Saturday morning. The vet gave her a nebulizer for antibiotic treatment. Over the next 2 days, she continued to cough and stopped eating, so we brought her to Piper Memorial on Monday. X-rays showed pneumonia, so she was admitted for oxygen therapy overnight. We expected to pick her up the following morning, but she didn't survive the night. That evening, her oxygen level dropped to 80. They intubated her and her heart stopped. This little dog entered the shelter seemingly healthy and died 5 days later, despite medical intervention. This happens all too often at this facility, and something needs to change. Animals there are not receiving proper medical care and are often labeled rescue only for minor issues. Heidi was labeled aggressive, but from the moment she arrived in my home, she was nothing but sweet and loving. She never once growled or snapped as described in her write-up. The rescue-only ratings can be death sentences for these animals. Please make changes at the Nyc Acc so no other animals have to suffer.